The first thing that hit me wasn't the silence. It was the smell. I opened the front door and froze with my hand still on the knob, rain dripping off my jacket onto the hardwood floor. The apartment smelled different. Clean, yeah, but not our kind of clean. Not the usual mix of coffee, detergent, and whatever cheap candle Emily bought on sale. This was sharp, sweet, like something new trying hard to hide something old. I hadn't planned on coming home early. My shift ran late, then got cut short, and all I wanted was a shower and sleep. But standing there, staring into my own hallway, I felt like I'd walked into the wrong place. Everything was too perfect. Shoes lined up against the wall. Couch pillows fluffed like a magazine photo. The kitchen counter empty, not even a crumb. Emily never cleaned like this unless her parents were coming over, and they lived 3 states away. I stepped inside and closed the door. The lock turned smoother than usual. I made a mental note of it without knowing why. I called out. No answer. I dropped my keys into the bowl by the door. They landed softly, like the apartment was padded. The clock on the microwave blinked 9:12. She should have been home. Our son, Tyler, too. Soccer practice ended at 8 on Tuesdays. I knew that because I'd circled it on the calendar. Or at least, I thought I had. I walked into the living room and stopped again. There was a framed photo on the shelf that hadn't been there before. Emily and Tyler, smiling at the park. The picture was recent. I could tell by Tyler's haircut. I wasn't in it. That wasn't strange by itself. What was strange was the angle. Someone else had taken it. Someone standing close. My chest tightened for no clear reason. I told myself to relax. People take pictures. Wives clean. Houses smell different sometimes. That's what normal guys think. That's what I tried to be. Then I noticed the Wi-Fi router. All the lights were off. I walked down the hallway. Our bedroom door was open. The bed was made tight, hotel tight. Emily hated doing the bed. Said it felt like lying to herself. Her words, not mine. I touched the pillow. Cold. Tyler's door was closed. I heard voices inside. Low. A man's voice. I stood there, my hand halfway to the knob, my heart suddenly beating so hard I thought it might give me away. Tyler laughed. It wasn't the laugh he used with me. It was softer, comfortable. I stepped back. A second later, the door opened. Tyler came out, backpack slung over one shoulder. He looked surprised, but not shocked. Hey, Dad, he said. Hey, I replied. My voice sounded normal. I didn't know how. Behind him, Emily stood in the doorway. She was calm. Too calm. She smiled like she'd been waiting for me to come home at exactly this moment. You're early, she said. Got cut loose, I said. Who was Tyler talking to? She didn't answer right away. Not even for a second. Long enough for me to see it. That tiny pause where a person decides which lie to use. Nobody, she said. Just a video. Tyler looked at the floor. I nodded. I didn't push. I should have. But I didn't. I walked past them into the kitchen, pretending everything was fine. On the fridge, a new calendar hung where the old one used to be. My handwriting was gone. In its place, red circles marked my work nights. Every late shift. Every overnight. I stared at it, feeling something cold spread through my gut. Emily leaned against the counter beside me. I caught the scent of her perfume. Not the one I bought her. This one was richer, deeper, like it belonged to someone else's arms. You hungry? She asked. I looked at my wife. The woman I'd trusted for 12 years. The mother of my son. Nah, I said. I'm just tired. That part, at least, was true. And standing there, under the bright kitchen light, I had no proof of anything. Just a feeling. Heavy. Unshakable. Like my life had already changed. I just hadn't caught up to it yet. I didn't sleep that night. Emily lay beside me, breathing slow and even, one arm resting on my chest like it always had. That arm used to calm me. Now it felt like weight. Like something holding me down. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the quiet hum of the apartment, noticing every sound that didn't belong. The fridge kicked on. Pipes clicked. Somewhere down the hall, Tyler shifted in his sleep. I tried to tell myself I was imagining things. Guys do that when they're tired. When work's been rough. When bills pile up and life feels off. They look for ghosts instead of answers. But the smell was still there. Even in the dark. It clung to the sheets, faint but real. Not sweat. Not sex exactly. Just another man's presence. I knew how crazy that sounded. Still, my body knew before my brain wanted to admit it. At some point, Emily rolled over. You okay? She murmured. Eyes still closed. Yeah, I said. Just can't shut my head off. She hummed softly, and turned away from me. Her back felt like a wall. I waited until her breathing evened out again before I got up. I moved slow, careful not to make the bed creak. Grabbed my phone from the nightstand, using the screen's glow to light my way. The hallway felt longer at night. Colder. I headed to the kitchen first. The trash can was empty. Too empty. Emily never took the trash out at night. Said it was bad luck. But the bag was new, crisp, like it had just been put in. I opened the cabinet under the sink. Cleaning supplies lined up in a way I didn't recognize. Labels facing forward. Nothing half-used. I opened the fridge. Leftovers were gone. Even the containers. Just drinks, condiments, and a box of strawberries Tyler didn't like. I closed it and leaned against the counter, trying to slow my breathing. You're reaching, I told myself. Then I saw the receipt. It was folded small, shoved behind the coffee maker. White paper against black plastic. I unfolded it with shaking fingers. A restaurant downtown. Steak and wine. 2 entrees. 1 dessert. The date was last Friday. I'd been working a double. I stood there for a long time, staring at the numbers like they might rearrange themselves into something harmless. They didn't. I folded the receipt back up and put it where I found it. No reason to tip my hand yet. I didn't even know what game I was in. Back in the bedroom, Emily hadn't moved. I slid under the covers, turning my back to her this time. My chest felt tight, like I was holding my breath without realizing it. Morning came too fast. Emily was already up when my alarm went off. Tyler was at the table, cereal bowl in front of him, phone propped against the sugar box. He looked normal. Too normal. Morning, I said. Morning, Dad. He replied, not looking up. Emily kissed my cheek on her way past. Her lips were cool. I'm taking Tyler to school, she said. Then I have errands. What kind? I asked, trying to sound casual. Stuff, she said. You know. I nodded. I always nodded. That was my thing. Easygoing. Trusting. The kind of guy who didn't ask too many questions. They left together. The door clicked shut behind them. I waited a full minute before moving. Emily's laptop was on the desk in the living room. She usually shut it down. This time, the screen was dark but warm. I tapped the space bar. Password screen. I tried our anniversary. Wrong. Tyler's birthday. Wrong. I stood there, fingers hovering, feeling stupid. Then I noticed the small camera on the bookshelf, half hidden behind a stack of old paperbacks. My security camera. I'd installed it a year ago after a break-in down the block. Mostly forgot about it after that. Emily said it made her uncomfortable. I turned off the alerts, but the camera was still there. Still watching. I pulled out my phone and opened the app. The feed loaded slowly. Then the living room appeared on the screen. Empty. Quiet. I scrolled back through the recordings. And that's when my hands started to shake. There were gaps. Big ones. Hours missing. Whole afternoons gone. Someone had been deleting footage. Someone who knew the password. I sat down hard on the couch, staring at the screen, feeling the ground under my life start to crack. Not explode. Not yet. Just crack. And I knew, right then, this wasn't about one lie. It was about how long it had been happening without me seeing a thing. I didn't go to work that day. I texted my boss some half-truth about a migraine and shut my phone off before he could ask questions. Then I sat there on the couch, staring at the security app like it might blink and tell me I was wrong. It didn't. The gaps were still there. Clean cuts, like someone had taken scissors to my life and tossed the pieces. I replayed what footage I had left. Emily walking through the living room in the afternoon, hair down, makeup done, wearing the red sweater she only put on for special occasions. Tyler trailing behind her, already dressed, backpack nowhere in sight. Them leaving together at 1:17 p.m. Then nothing until 5:42, when Emily came back alone, carrying grocery bags that looked too light for how long she'd been gone. I scrubbed my face with both hands and tried to think straight. Tyler was supposed to be in school. My son was 12. Old enough to lie. Old enough to be told things kids shouldn't have to carry. That thought hit me harder than anything else so far. I stood up and started walking the apartment like I was seeing it for the first time. Looking closer. Touching things. Opening drawers. Not tearing the place apart. Just listening to it. In the hallway closet, behind the coats, I found a pair of men's shoes. Not boots. Not sneakers. Dress shoes. Expensive. Size bigger than mine. Polished recently. My stomach dropped. I didn't throw them out. Didn't kick them. I put them back exactly where they were. That seemed important somehow. Like if I disturbed the scene, I'd lose the truth. Back in the bedroom, I opened Emily's closet. Her clothes were rearranged. Dresses grouped together, colors matched. On the top shelf sat a shoebox I'd never seen before. I pulled it down and opened it. Inside were letters. Real letters. Envelopes. Handwritten. I didn't read them. Not yet. I closed the box and put it back. I wasn't ready for words. Pictures and numbers were bad enough. Around noon, my phone buzzed. I turned it back on. A text from Tyler. Can I go to Jake's after school? Jake lived 2 blocks away. Normal request. A week ago, I wouldn't have thought twice. Sure, I typed. Have fun. A minute later, another text popped up. From an unknown number. You weren't supposed to see the gaps. My heart slammed into my ribs. I stared at the screen, waiting for the message to disappear. It didn't. 3 dots appeared, then stopped. Appeared again. Who is this? I typed. A pause. Long enough to make my palms sweat. Someone who's been in your house. I felt cold all over. I stood up, like that might help, and walked to the window. The street below looked the same as always. Kids riding bikes. A woman walking a dog. Normal life moving along without me. Why are you texting me? I wrote. Because you deserve to know. And because she's lying to both of you. Both of who? I asked, though I already knew. You and the kid. That word, kid, set something off inside me. Anger flared hot and sudden. Don't talk about my son, I typed. Another pause. I'm not the bad guy here. I laughed out loud at that. A sharp, ugly sound that didn't feel like it came from me. Then tell me who you are. 3 dots. Gone. Back again. My name is Mark. The name hit me harder than it should have. Plain. Common. Like this could happen to anyone. Like it already had. How long? I asked. This time the answer came fast. Long enough. I sank back onto the couch, phone heavy in my hand. I thought about the calendar. The red circles. The missing hours. Tyler's laugh behind a closed door. Are you coming back? I typed. Not today, Mark wrote. She doesn't know I reached out. Why are you doing this? Several seconds passed. Then, because she's planning to leave. And I'm not sure she's telling you the whole truth. My chest tightened. Leave. The word echoed. Before I could respond, the screen went blank. No more messages. When I tried to text back, it didn't go through. The number was gone. I sat there until the light in the apartment shifted, shadows stretching across the floor. At some point, I realized my hands had stopped shaking. In their place was something else. Focus. For the first time since I walked through that door, I wasn't guessing anymore. I wasn't imagining smells or reading into pauses. There was a man named Mark. He'd been in my house. And he knew things my wife didn't want me to know. When the front door finally opened that evening and Emily walked in, smiling like always, I looked at her and saw a stranger. And I knew this was just the beginning. Emily talked about her day like nothing was wrong. She set her purse on the counter, kicked off her shoes, and started telling me about traffic, about how the store was out of Tyler's favorite snacks, about a neighbor she ran into in the parking lot. Normal details. Carefully chosen. I watched her the way you watch a performance when you already know how it ends. I nodded in the right places. Asked 1 or 2 harmless questions. I was good at that. Years of marriage teach you how to sound present while your mind is somewhere else. Tyler came in a few minutes later. He looked tired, quieter than usual. Hey, buddy, I said. Hey, he replied, heading straight for his room. Homework done? I asked. Yeah. Too fast. But I let him go. Dinner was quiet. Emily pushed food around her plate more than she ate. I caught her checking her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. Each time the screen lit up, her shoulders stiffened just a little. Not enough for anyone else to notice. Enough for me. I kept thinking about the word Mark used. Leave. After dinner, Tyler disappeared into his room again. Emily started washing dishes, even though we usually did them together. I leaned against the counter, pretending to scroll through my phone, watching her reflection in the dark window. You seem distant, she said without turning around. Just tired, I said. Same lie as the night before. She dried her hands and faced me. For a second, I thought she might say something real. Confess. Crack. But then she smiled. Maybe you should take tomorrow off too, she said. You've been working too much. There it was. Soft. Reasonable. Almost kind. I might, I said. That night, she fell asleep fast. I waited until her breathing slowed before I moved. This time, I didn't go to the kitchen or the living room. I went straight to Tyler's room. I knocked lightly. No answer. I knocked again, and opened the door a few inches. His room smelled like clean laundry and something else, cologne. Not mine. Not his. He was lying on his bed, phone in hand, pretending not to be awake. "Hey," I said quietly. "Can we talk?" He hesitated, then sat up. "About what?" I sat on the edge of his bed. For a moment, I just looked at him. My kid. The same face I'd watched change year by year. The same eyes that used to look at me like I had all the answers. "You can tell me anything," I said. "You know that, right?" He shrugged. "I guess." I took a breath. "Who's Mark?" His eyes flicked up, just for a split second, then away. "I don't know," he said. The lie sat between us, heavy and obvious. "Tyler," I said, keeping my voice calm. "I already know he's been here." That did it. His shoulders slumped. He stared at his hands, twisting his fingers together the way he used to when he was little and scared. "He's Mom's friend," he said finally. "How long?" I asked. "A while." "How long is a while?" He swallowed. "Since last spring." The room felt smaller, like the walls had moved in. "What does he do here?" I asked. Tyler hesitated. "We hang out. Sometimes he helps me with math. Sometimes we go out to eat." "And school?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. "Tyler, sometimes Mom says it's okay to miss," he said quietly. "She says it's our secret." That word again. Secret. I stood up before my knees gave out. "You didn't do anything wrong," I said quickly. "None of this is on you. You hear me?" He nodded, eyes shiny. "Go to sleep," I said. "We'll talk more later." I closed his door and walked back to my bedroom, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. Emily didn't stir when I lay down beside her. She slept like someone with nothing weighing on her chest. I stared at the ceiling until my eyes burned. Mark wasn't just some guy she was seeing. He was part of my son's life. And whatever Emily was planning, she hadn't just made room for him. She'd been building a whole other world. Inside my own home. I woke up before my alarm, the sky outside still gray and low. Emily was already gone. Her side of the bed was cold, sheets pulled tight, like she'd never been there at all. For a moment, I just lay there, staring at the empty space, feeling something hollow out inside me. Tyler was still asleep. I didn't wake him. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table, staring at the red circles on the calendar. Every one of them felt like a joke now. My late nights hadn't been sacrifices. They'd been opportunities. Around 9, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stared at it for a long second before answering. "Hello." "Don't hang up," Mark said. "I'm not here to fight." His voice was calm, confident, like he had nothing to lose. "You've got nerve calling me," I said. "I figured you'd have questions," he replied. "And I don't want Tyler caught in the middle." Hearing my son's name in his mouth made my jaw tighten. "Where are you?" I asked. "Doesn't matter," he said. "What matters is this doesn't get ugly." "It's already ugly," I said. He sighed. "Emily told me you're a good guy. I believe her." I laughed. "She tell you I didn't know about you?" "Yes," he said. No hesitation. "She said you were checked out, that you wouldn't notice." That one landed hard. "What do you want?" I asked. "Honestly," he said, "I want this handled like adults. She's been trying to work up the courage to talk to you." "That's funny," I said. "She's had plenty of time." "Not everyone's brave," Mark replied. I pictured him then. Mid-40s, maybe. Clean. Put together. The kind of guy who steps into another man's life and convinces himself he's improving it. "You ever think about whose house you were walking into?" I asked. "Yes," he said. "Every time." Silence stretched between us. "She told me you were moving out?" I said finally. Another pause. Shorter this time. "She's thinking about it," he said. "Nothing's final. She's been telling my son to keep secrets," I said. That made him hesitate. I heard it in his breath. "I didn't know that," he said. "You know now?" "I never meant to hurt him," Mark said. "Funny thing about meaning," I replied. "Doesn't change the damage." We hung up not long after that. No threats. No yelling. Just two men standing on opposite sides of the same mess. Emily came home around noon. I was sitting on the couch when she walked in. She stopped short when she saw me. "You didn't go in?" she asked. "No," I said. She set her purse down slowly. "We need to talk." "Yeah," I said. "We do." She sat across from me, folding her hands in her lap like she was bracing for bad news. I wondered how many times she'd rehearsed this. "How long were you going to lie to me?" I asked. Tears filled her eyes right on cue. Real ones, I think. Or maybe she'd just practiced enough. "I never meant for it to happen," she said. "It just did." "You let him into our house," I said. You let him into our son's life. I was lonely, she said. You were never here. I nodded slowly. That's your excuse? It's not an excuse, she said. It's the truth. The truth is you planned this, I said. The calendar. The cleaning. The secrets. She looked down. Didn't deny it. I didn't think you'd find out like this, she whispered. That's what hurts the most, I said. Not that you cheated. That you thought I didn't deserve the truth. She started to cry then. Really cry. Shoulders shaking, hands over her face. I watched her, feeling something strange settle in my chest. Not rage. Clarity. I'm not leaving today, she said after a while. I need time. No, I said. I need time. She looked up at me, confused. I'm not going anywhere, I continued. But things are changing. Starting now. I stood up and walked past her, heading for the bedroom. I packed a bag. Not to run, just to create space. When I passed Tyler's room, I paused, listening to his steady breathing. This wasn't about winning or losing. It was about protecting what mattered. And for the first time since I smelled that clean, foreign air, I felt steady. Whatever came next, I'd face it head on. I stayed at my brother's place that night. Not because Emily asked me to go. She didn't. She stood in the doorway, arms wrapped around herself, watching me zip the bag like she still expected me to stop. To say something that would make it all go back to the way it was. I didn't. I walked past her, kissed Tyler on the head while he pretended to sleep, and left. My brother Jake didn't ask many questions. He never did. He handed me a beer, pointed to the couch, and turned the TV on low like noise might keep the thoughts away. It didn't. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Tyler's face when he said the word secret. I saw the calendar, the red circles. I heard Mark's voice saying my name like we were equals. In the morning, I drove back to the apartment to take Tyler to school. Emily wasn't home. She'd left early, probably to avoid me. Tyler ate his toast quietly, eyes on the table. You okay? I asked. He nodded. Too fast. We're gonna be fine, I said. I wasn't sure if I was convincing him or myself. At school, he hesitated before getting out of the car. You mad at Mom? He asked. I took a breath. I'm hurt, I said. But that's between me and her. You don't have to carry that. He nodded, relieved. Then he paused. Mark says he loves her, he said. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. I'm sure he does, I replied carefully. But love doesn't give you the right to lie. Tyler thought about that, then closed the door. After I dropped him off, I sat in the parking lot longer than I needed to. When I finally pulled away, I didn't go to work. I went to a lawyer's office instead. Her name was Susan Miller. Mid-50s. Sharp eyes. No nonsense. She listened while I talked, barely interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. You're not the first man to sit there and tell me this story, she said. And you won't be the last. What do? I asked. That depends on what you want, she said. Revenge or stability? I want my son protected, I said. Then document everything, she replied. Dates, messages, anything involving another man and your child. I nodded. I'd already started, even if I hadn't admitted it yet. That afternoon, Emily texted me. We should try counseling. I stared at the message for a long time before replying. Maybe, I typed. But honesty comes first. Dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. I never meant to hurt you, she wrote. I put the phone face down. I was tired of intentions. That evening, Mark texted again. I didn't expect you to leave. Neither did I replied. There was a pause. I didn't know about the lawyer, he wrote. That made me smile. Not because it was funny, because it told me something. You don't get a vote, I typed. Another pause. I care about Tyler, he wrote. Then prove it, I answered. Stay out of his life. He didn't respond. When I went back to the apartment that night to tuck Tyler in, Emily wasn't there. She'd left a note on the counter saying she was staying with a friend. No name. No details. Tyler hugged me longer than usual. Are you coming back tomorrow? He asked. Yes, I said. And I meant it. After he fell asleep, I sat alone in the living room. The apartment didn't smell clean anymore. It smelled empty. Like something had been stripped out and not replaced. I opened the security app again and scrolled through the old footage. I saved everything this time. Every clip. Every gap. This wasn't over. But it was no longer happening to me. I was inside it now, eyes open, steady, ready for whatever came next. The next few days settled into something that almost looked like routine. I stayed in the apartment. Emily didn't. She texted once a day, Always about Tyler. Pickup times. School stuff. Never about us. That told me more than any confession could. She was already living somewhere else in her head. Tyler and I fell into our own rhythm. Breakfast together. School drop-offs. Dinner that didn't come from a box. He talked more when it was just the two of us. Not about Mark. Not about his mom. About school, friends, dumb videos he liked. Normal kid stuff. I let him have that. He deserved it. At night, when the place was quiet, I felt the weight of everything pressed down harder. That's when doubt tried to creep in. The what-ifs. The memories that didn't hurt before, but did now. Emily laughing in the kitchen. Her head on my shoulder during old movies. A life that felt solid until it wasn't. On Thursday evening, there was a knock at the door. I wasn't expecting anyone. I checked through the peephole. Mark stood there. My pulse spiked, but my hand stayed steady. I opened the door and stepped out into the hallway, closing it behind me. "You've got some nerve," I said. "I told Emily I needed to talk to you," he replied. She didn't stop me. That sounded about right. "What do you want?" I asked. He looked different up close. Older than I imagined. Lines around his eyes. Not a villain. Just a man who made bad choices and called them love. "I'm stepping back," he said. "From Tyler." I studied his face, looking for cracks. Lies. I didn't see any. "And Emily?" I asked. "That's between you and her," he said. "But I won't be around when he's there." "Why now?" I asked. "Because I didn't sign up to be the reason a kid loses his dad," he said. "Even if that dad wasn't paying attention." The jab landed, but I let it pass. "You're right about one thing," I said. "You don't get to decide what happens here." "I know," he replied. "That's why I'm leaving it alone." He turned to go, then stopped. "She wasn't planning to tell you," he added quietly. "Not ever." I nodded once. "I know." He walked away without another word. Inside, Tyler was doing homework at the table. "Who was that?" he asked. "Someone I talked to," I said. He accepted that and went back to his work. Kids know when not to push. Later that night, Emily called. "I heard Mark came by," she said. "He did," I replied. There was a long silence on the line. "He said he's done," she said finally. "With Tyler," I corrected. "Yes," she said. "That was the line," I said. "And you crossed it." "I know," she whispered. "You didn't just betray me," I continued. "You put our son in the middle. That's something I don't forgive easily." "I never wanted to hurt him," she said. "But you did," I replied. "And now we deal with the consequences." She cried. I listened, not because I wanted to comfort her, but because I wanted to hear her face what she'd done without interruption. "What happens now?" she asked. "That depends on you," I said. Full honesty. No more secrets. And we figure out custody with lawyers, not lies. "You're really serious?" she said. "I've never been more serious about anything," I replied. After we hung up, I stood by Tyler's door for a moment, listening to him sleep. The apartment felt different again. Not clean. Not empty. Grounded. Whatever future we were heading into, it wasn't built on pretending anymore. And for the first time since all this started, I felt something close to control. Not over her. Over myself. The weekend came, and the apartment felt almost normal. Tyler and I went to the park Saturday morning. He rode his bike while I jogged beside him, trying to catch my breath and keep my mind from wandering back to Emily. Each time I saw him laugh or shout at another kid, I felt a mix of relief and heartbreak. Relief that he was okay. Heartbreak that he had to be okay without the family we used to be. When we got home, I checked the mail. Among the usual junk, there was an envelope addressed to me in Emily's handwriting. My stomach sank. I tore it open carefully. Inside was a note. Short. Simple. "I need space. I'm figuring out what I want. Please don't contact me unless it's about Tyler. Emily." No apology. No explanation. Just her words, carefully measured. I put the note down and stared at the floor. It wasn't the betrayal that hurt the most anymore. It was the way she had turned our lives into a careful performance where the truth didn't exist. By Monday, I had made a decision. I called Susan, the lawyer. We went through every detail. The security footage, texts, receipts, everything I had collected. I needed a record, not just for custody, but for myself. Proof that I hadn't been blind, that I had seen everything unfold even if I hadn't said anything at the time. Emily called later that day. "I want to talk," she said. "About Tyler," I said. "Yes," she replied. "I want to explain myself too. Not to fight, but to be honest." I nodded to myself. I didn't need her to justify what she'd done. I needed her to acknowledge it. She came over that evening. She walked in, eyes tired, hair slightly messy. I noticed the subtle changes in her perfume. The new scent I hadn't recognized before. It was faint, but I knew it now. I want to tell you everything, she began. I gestured for her to sit. Tyler was at his homework table, oblivious to the tension in the room. I didn't plan for any of this, she said. I never wanted to hurt you, Mark. I mean, you know me. I stayed silent. Let her talk. I met him months ago, she said. It started small. Coffee, lunch, conversations. Then it became more. I felt alive in ways I hadn't for years. But I never stopped loving Tyler. Never stopped thinking about you. I'm so sorry. Her voice broke at the end. Real or rehearsed, I didn't care. Her words didn't change the past. I know about the gaps in the security footage, I said quietly. About the receipts, about everything. She flinched. I didn't move. I didn't know what to do, she admitted. I was ashamed. I lied. I thought I could control it all. Keep it secret. But I failed. I let that sit for a moment. There was nothing to say. Apologies didn't erase months of betrayal. Emily, I said finally, you've got to understand something. Whatever happens from here, it's about Tyler. Not us. Not me, not you. Him. She nodded. Tears welled again. I know, she whispered. And if you ever lie to him, I said, or try to hide something from me again, it won't be about punishment. It'll be about keeping him safe. Nothing else. She nodded again. The room felt heavy, but honest. For the first time, she wasn't performing. And that mattered. Later that night, I tucked Tyler in. He looked up at me, eyes curious. Mom coming back? He asked. I don't know, I said softly. But we'll figure it out together. Just you and me for now. He nodded, curled up, and closed his eyes. I sat in the doorway for a long while, listening to his steady breathing. The apartment smelled faintly of coffee and life. Not clean, not foreign, just ours again. But I knew the peace was temporary. Emily had made choices, and the consequences were only beginning. And I was ready for the storm. Monday morning hit hard. Tyler was already up when I got to the kitchen, munching on cereal, headphones in. I made coffee and sat across from him, trying to act normal, trying to hold on to the routine that now felt fragile. He glanced up once and smiled, then went back to whatever game he was watching on his tablet. I hadn't expected Emily to call, but her name flashed across my phone anyway. I stared at it for a long second before answering. Hey, I said, careful. Hi, she replied. Her voice was soft, almost tentative. Can we talk about yesterday? I pinched the bridge of my nose. We did. You told me everything. I know, she said, but I want to make sure you understand why. Not that it excuses anything, but you should know the truth. I didn't respond right away. Truth. Funny word. She'd twisted it and hidden it, and now wanted me to accept it neatly packaged. I was lonely, she started. I felt invisible. And when I met him, I felt alive again. But it wasn't about replacing you. It was, I don't know. I lost myself. I didn't know how to come back without lying. Her words hung in the air. I sipped my coffee slowly. I wanted to shout. I wanted to throw the mug. I wanted to walk away. But none of that mattered. Tyler was listening somewhere in his room, and the last thing he needed was a father losing control. You know what this looks like? I said finally. You don't get to decide what's acceptable when it comes to him. I know, she whispered. I didn't think you'd ever forgive me, or even talk to me again. That's why Emily, I cut her off. It's not about forgiveness. Not yet. It's about honesty. Starting now. There was a long silence. I could hear her breathing. I'll do whatever it takes, she said finally. For Tyler. I swear. I didn't reply immediately. I wanted to believe her, but trust doesn't rebuild itself overnight. It's slow. Painfully slow. And I wasn't going to let anyone, Mark, Emily, or even myself, rush it. After the call, I checked the security footage again. Hours and hours of nothing unusual. No gaps, no extra people, no signs of Mark. I saved everything to an external drive, labeling each file carefully. If she tried to hide anything in the future, I'd know. Later that evening, Tyler asked me to help with his science project. We spread out papers and glue sticks across the kitchen table, and for a few hours, the house felt normal. Laughter replaced tension. The smell of markers and paper cut through the stale air. But even as I watched him carefully glue the edges of a cardboard volcano, I knew it wouldn't last forever. Emily's choices had left cracks. Big ones. And cracks always show themselves again, sooner or later. I stood in the doorway after helping him clean up. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "You okay?" "Yeah," he replied, with that quiet confidence that only kids have when they're trying to believe the world is safe. I watched him walk to his room and close the door, then leaned against the counter. The apartment was quiet again. Not the calm of peace, but the calm of a storm holding its breath. And I knew, deep down, that storm wasn't over. It was just taking its time. That night, I stayed up longer than usual. Tyler was asleep, the apartment silent except for the faint hum of the fridge. I sat at the kitchen table with a notebook and my phone, going over everything. The receipts, the calendar, the security footage, the texts. Every little detail. I needed to see it all in one place, clear and undeniable. Emily came home quietly around midnight. She didn't knock. She didn't say anything at first, just stood in the doorway, watching me scribble in the notebook. I looked up. "Late night," she said softly. "Yeah," I said, trying to figure out how to fix things. Her face fell. "Can they be fixed?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But we start by being honest. All the way." She nodded, slowly, tears in her eyes. Not the kind that come from acting or rehearsing, real ones. She sat across from me. No excuses. No lies. Just her, finally open. "I don't want to lose Tyler," she said. "I never wanted him to be hurt by me. By us." "I know," I said. "And that's why things have to change. We can't pretend anymore. Whatever comes next, it's about him first. Always." She swallowed, nodded again, and didn't say anything else. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was alone in this fight. Not completely. Not entirely. The following weeks were a slow, awkward adjustment. Therapy sessions for Emily and me. Joint meetings with the lawyer. Days when the apartment felt like home, and days when it felt like a battlefield. Tyler adjusted faster than either of us. Kids always do. He smiled more, talked more, and somehow made me believe that we could survive this. Mark disappeared from our lives, just as he promised. Not a single call, not a single message. I didn't reach out. Emily didn't. The man who had once intruded on our home and family faded into memory. Eventually, Emily moved back into the apartment. Not all at once, not like nothing happened, but enough to show she was committed. We weren't married like before, not fully healed, but we were working. Step by step, hour by hour. I learned something crucial through it all. Betrayal doesn't end love. But it forces you to confront it honestly. To see what really matters. To fight for the life that's left. And as I tucked Tyler in one quiet evening, watched him drift off to sleep with that small, trusting smile, I realized that while the past couldn't be erased, the future was still ours to shape. The apartment no longer smelled like secrecy. It smelled like life. Like coffee. Like home. And for the first time in months, I breathed easy. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But I was ready. Because the truth, finally, was out in the open. And I would never ignore it again.